gods are in the world are triune gods. Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, Osiris, Isis, Horus, Father, Son, Holy Ghost, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. No, it's all a story. It's based on three. And then you have the three major religions, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. Why three? Why couldn't it be seven? No. Then you'll find out, no, you're playing with numbers now. There's something going on here, and it's encoded. Nobody reads anything. Nobody cares. You just do what you do because they were born into it. So if you're Catholic, you just go to Catholic church. And you never realize that as a Catholic, you're worshiping a god named Dagon. Dagon is the god of Catholicism. Nobody knows anything about Dagon, and nobody cares. Why? Because it's just a church. So we go to church and we feel good, and we have all our friends there. And I said, yeah, but you're worshiping Dagon, goofball. Do you know that? Do you know who Dagon was?
Who?
Do you know what Dagon is? Because it's right there in front of you if you just look at the church.
The Pope died 4/21/25. The magic number goes back to number 3. Queen Elizabeth's birthday was also 4/21, and yes, she did have 2 birthdays that she celebrated, but everybody in their bloodline has the second birthday they celebrate in June. It's the beginning of the summer solstice, which is also a ritual. Klaus Schwab, world leader, World Economic Forum, also resigned on 4/21. So you had 2 world leaders that stepped down on the same day, 4/21. Prince, his 9th anniversary of his death was 4/21/16. He also was called Prince, and his favorite color was purple. Purple is the color of royalty, and I say that loosely. It's actually the color of power because red and blue make purple. Right and left, that's another rabbit hole, but I made videos explaining the red and blue, so you'll have to go back or research yourself and see when I talk about the red and blue, especially when it comes to these elitists and how they've been controlling us. I just wanted to make a note that also the WEF organization is a world institution engaging in business, political, academic abilities that we had, when it comes to this world agenda. And it also includes other leaders, other bloodlines, but their reign of power is declining. Finally, we figured it out. We feel like it's almost a relief coming. I have been spiritually attacked left and right by dark forces, causing me physical and mental anguish. Because of this, it's probably stopped me from making a lot of my content creating, but I'm not letting that happen again. But I'm just putting it out there in the universe that I'm not going to let anything or anybody take my peace. That is something that you cannot gain from me or take from me. Right? I just had to put it out there. But I know that there's others out there that feel the same way I do. We also feel that it's a sense of relief that's about to happen. The year of the snake, 2025, is infinity. It also means completion. Okay? And I say that because look at everything that's been going on up until, think about 6 months ago up until now. Would you ever think that this would be going on, or even think back when you were a child? Does it seem like things in today's time be happening? No, it was a whole different world, whole different aspect. So I think spiritually, we're all on the same level if you have your third eye open. Okay, we're not at the beginning as far as their power. We are at the end of their power. So you have to look at that being positive, okay? Now, this is where I'm probably going to get a lot of comments. And please don't take this in the wrong way, because I'm not insulting anybody's religion or anybody's beliefs. But I have to say this because this is the way I feel. Do you believe that Christ is coming back? Or do you believe it's something that's spiritual that we already had in us? Meaning that come back means that we remember who we are. Remember who we are as a people. Remember at one time we communicated telepathically. We didn't need to communicate with words and spells and that type of communication. That is something that was never intended for us. The word spelling has a lot of meaning to it. So just something that's a rabbit hole that you have to think about. Numbers is something that we communicate by. That is something that is universal, something that's been unchanged, and something that you cannot, and even if you even try to bend it or twist it, it's always going to come back to the number 3. And that's where you get your Trinity from. But they try to take that Trinity and try to twist it and use it for their advantage and their power, meaning the Father, the Son, and the Holy, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. A lot of people took that literally as the man being the man. And if you do your research, you'll know that it's all been a lie. It's all been a cover-up to deceive us, to preventing us from being who we were and who we are. All right? And I just had to put that out there. And you don't have to be any type of spiritual belief. Just know that you are a being. And it was never intended for us to do the type of communication that we are doing as far as the spell casting and the alphabet and all that type of stuff that we use. The language, okay? I also want to put this out here too, is that when we are born, we are all born into sovereignty, but that is all taken away from us by their governed power. And how is that done? When they issue a birth certificate and a social security number. We become numbers. We're not souls. We're not spirits. We're not beings. We are numbers. That is part of their control. So when they need to call upon us, all they got to do is find a number. Okay? And if they want something from us, all they got to do is find a number. Okay? That is part of their control. Basically, our sovereignty was replaced with birth certificates and the social security numbers, okay? And a birth certificate is nothing but a ward of state. That's all that is. You're giving permission for your child to be a ward of the state, meaning that at any time they can come in, grab your children, or if you're an adult, they could come and get you because you've already signed over to that, or your parents has already signed over to that. And that's something that people are unaware of. And that's something that we've done. The currency money that we use, the paper money, that's not real. That is just paper. Those are words on papers that says this is a $100 bill. Who said it's a $100 bill? Okay. Oh, the God that they trust. And God we trust and puts on the dollar bill. Whose God is that? You ever think about that? I don't think that's my God. I don't think that my God created paper money or currency for me to exchange it for goods. I think that my Creator, my God, created other things, other natural things that are on this earth or were on this earth. Gold, silver, copper, things like that to trade, or things that were already free, like energy, water, food. That's all been free, but somehow, well, the elitists, they've taken power and they are charging you to live. You have to pay for your food, you have to pay for your gas, your lights, everything. And now we're at the age of artificial intelligence where they want to not only do this, but take your consciousness away from you. That means that you don't have no free thinking. That's the last thing they needed to do. But guess what? They can't take that unless you allow that. And I'm talking about taking your conscious mind. You allow the ones that are in control to continue to do, as far as get in your head and say that this is what we're supposed to do, then maybe you need to continue to suffer the way you're suffering, as far as what this world has for us. Okay? And a lot of people say that the word hell on earth, that's where we're at. This is the state of mind. This is the state of consciousness we're in. This is the dimension we're in. Okay? And that's fine. If you want to be NPC, then go right ahead. I have no control of that. But I myself is not an NPC. I'm very spiritually inclined. I'm going to reach my spirituality to the top notch, to where I need to go to, where I need to go to, wherever dimension that is, it's going to lead me. I'm going to go up higher. I'm not going lower. All right? I'm not going to let anybody replace my sovereignty, meaning that, yes, on paper, I am a number, but nobody has that power. Nobody had that choice, but I have a choice for my conscience. You're not going to take my conscience away from me. Getting back to, like I said, I'm not trying to insult anybody's religion, but I'm going to bring this up. The Ethiopians have a Bible. This is supposed to be the true Bible. And I say this because it has all the books in the Bible that they didn't allow in the King James Version. The King James Version is a version that everybody reads, a version that it's come from, like I say, like the Bibles we read now, it may be a new international version, whatever version, but it all came from King James, as far as the beliefs, as far as Adam and Eve, that type of thing, okay? The Ethiopian Bible puts us in another time and place, and I say that because these elitists, these power people in control have added years. They control time. And if you think that I'm going too far, all you got to do is do the research and know that they are the ones that change the calendar. They are the ones that control the time. The Gregorian calendar was created by Pope Gregory, the Pope. It's something to keep in mind. Go down that rabbit hole, but I'm not going to do that. I just want to just go ahead and speak what's on my mind, because it's been a while since I made a video. Like I said, spiritually I've been attacked, and I kind of been letting it get to me, but I'm not going to let that happen. I'm putting out there in spiritual, in the universe. I'm not going to let trolls, I'm not going to let any type of trolling get to me. I'm going to say what's on my mind, because that's who I am. And I'm not going to stop being me for anybody. And you can agree with me or you can disagree. Either way, I'm going to be me. The Ethiopians, like I said, they are on a timeline. They're actually in the year 2017, according to their Bible. And I'm going to end this video. I'm going to come back and I'm going to try to make a little bit more, a more concise video. I just want to put this out there so you just know that I'm still alive. I'm still here. Just want my voice to be heard, or, hear what's been going on. Leave it with this. Do you believe that everything that they taught us and showed us was the opposite? Meaning, what if God was a devil and devil was a God? The snake that we were taught to fear, we actually should trust it because it's in the form of an aid, the serpent. But yet, all of this, we're taught to fear and trust in an invisible entity, okay? We are taught to trust only one God and desire fictional monetary in the form of paper and all that type of stuff, all right? This is the world that we're in. And like I said in the beginning, all this stuff was not meant for us. We were not meant to communicate like this. We're not meant to live like this. At one time, we communicated telepathically. We didn't need AI or any of the technology that's used now. Our mind, our body, and our soul is all that we needed. And we were all one race, human race. Didn't matter if you were this shade of this color or not the shade of this color. But the ones in power, the ones in control, are the ones who design the way this programming is working. And I'm talking about from everything that we watch, to everything that we eat, everything that we do, we consume, is something that they created. And right now, the year 2025 is the end of their reign. So with that, I'm going to leave a few clips. There is some content creators on here that have made videos and talked about this, and I wanted to share that on my channel. So please check their channel out, and I will see you next video. Thank you for watching.
Gods are in the world are triune gods. Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, Osiris, Isis, Horus, Father, Son, Holy Ghost, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. No, it's all a story. It's based on three. And then you have the three major religions, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. Why three? Why couldn't it be seven? No. Then you'll find out, no, you're playing with numbers now. There's something going on here, and it's encoded. Nobody reads anything. Nobody cares. You just do what you do because they were born into it. So if you're Catholic, you just go to Catholic church. You never realize that as a Catholic, you're worshiping a God named Dagon. D-A-G-O-N is the God of Catholicism. Nobody knows anything about Dagon, and nobody cares. Why? Because it's just a church. So we go to church and we feel good, and we have all our friends there. And I said, yeah, but you're worshiping Dagon, goofball. Do you know that? Do you know who Dagon was?
Who?
Do you know what Dagon is? Because it's right there in front of you if you just look at the church.
Watch this right here, coming up right after this. Give him a statement. Pope walks up to the window. Look right back here. Something. Do you see that little black thing come up? And then watch. Gives his blessing and poof, he's gone. Did you see that? Okay, let me show you this right here. I took a screen capture of it so we can slow it down and watch that last little bit here. All right, so let's go back to where he first appears. Right there. I'm going to go frame by frame here. You can see they're opening the door. There's his head coming up. He's going up on the steps or whatever they have behind there. Steps up a second one. And then see that right there? This little black thing that's whatever that is happening behind him kind of comes out right there. And then he kind of moves in front of it a little bit. And then he gives his blessing. Gives his blessing. And he turns around to go. I'm going to go one frame at a time here. Lets his hand out the window. Slowly moves away. Did you see that? Let me do it again. And okay, I'm going to show you something. So first frame right there. So he's there. Next frame, he's at 50% opacity. And then the next frame, click, he's gone. I don't know if you guys can see this because of the video bit rate that I stream at, but there's still the outline, like darker than the rest of the room around it. There's still this black spot where he used to, whatever it was that we were looking at, where that used to occupy the space. And then a couple more frames and it blends in and then they mix the shot. I don't think for a second that this news agency is pulling a CGI prank on us. I've said many times that the world is a much stranger place than I think most of us realize. And of course, we have all this Q stuff going on and the child pedophilia stuff, and it all supposedly ties into the Vatican. Was that a hologram? Is he dead?
Together we can make this journey. Together we can make this journey.